And we're starting in three, two, one. Welcome back to Epstein Files Review, episode 31. As always, this is an 18 and up channel, so if you're under the age of 18, we're going to have to ask you to leave. And with that being said, let's start how we traditionally do with our last file, which was file 3000, which was this back portion of the temple, excuse me, the gym. And as you can see, the floors have been either ripped up were just being put in. I'm assuming they were ripped up because, as we saw in the last episode, there were cubby closets with old shoes and things like that, which would definitely suggest that this building hasn't been inhabited prior. So you see all these loose wires here. You've got this box here, this electrical box. We don't know if that was surveillance or music, but clearly there's some tear down going here and some flooring is being put in. We got a lot of good feedback on that last episode where we finally got to explore Epstein's temple. And some people commented on things that were missing from the temple, like the Golden Dome. I'm sure once wind got out that there was going to be an investigation, he probably started getting rid of some stuff. We know if you started at episode 1 that the Warrens started with the New York house. So, with the writing being on the wall, I'm sure he knew they were going to be looking into his other properties and potentially started making some adjustments. And like I said, we're not assuming, but common sense, if you were under an investigation and you were doing really shady stuff, you would start cleaning it up. We saw the same thing with Sean Combs, where he was trying to get rid of stuff. But moving forward, let's jump right into the first file of the day. Start jumping down that rabbit hole. All right, so here's a closer look at that box we were just talking about: radio, gym, temperature switch. So these are labeled. Maybe this isn't surveillance equipment, or maybe it is. We don't know. Let's continue on. All right, here's another angle of the gym. You can see some wires in there. Looks very loose. And there's still no floor here. So I don't know if he got arrested while he was doing this or if this was just ripped up to avoid some form of guilt. Moving forward. All right, so we're back outside here. I'm assuming this is the side of the gym corridor. You can see there's some wires, some electrical wires here going from this box. All right. So this looks like where he has his air conditioning units. It's like a shed, so this is probably just for the air to pump that into the gym. Nothing too crazy there. All right, here's another box of equipment, and like we always say, these warrants were served for to find electrical servers. So any of this electrical equipment would have been seized. What does this say? I can't really make that out. But whatever was there, it says Palms, NDC, whatever that means. All of this stuff looks like it would most likely be seized as evidence, just to make sure there's nothing of interest on those computers. All right, here's another look at that air conditioner. You can see the power switch there. So nothing too crazy to see there. The beach house. All right, so we're headed to the beach house. All right, so here is another long path here, and this must be the beach house. You can see in the distance he's got these artifacts here. Looks like something Buddhist, but let's move along. All right, so here's the front of the beach house. You see the terrace there, or the patio, whichever you want to call it. We are 10% through today's episode. All right, so here's a closer look. He's staying to that sea blue or that turquoise and white. You got the staircase here. Got some outdoor patio furniture. All right, here is the back. You can see the Caribbean Sea in the background. It's got a little back porch there. All right, here is the side view from the bottom of this cliff here. As you can see, there's a lot of window panels, glass window panels around the entire back of this little cottage slash beach house where you'd be able to look out and see the views. All right, here's the other side. So I guess they're just getting every angle of the house. Looks like there's a, or actually, no, this is the same staircase we were just looking at. We're just looking at it from the left side because you could still see the patio furniture. So the other picture was taken back here somewhere. All right, here we are going up the stairs. We are 15% through today's episode. Hope everybody's having a good Monday. And once again, here's Epstein's office. So you've got his computer. Let's see if we see a bunch of glasses everywhere. So you've got the refrigerator here. You've got this little ottoman. It's a glass ottoman with a giant rock on it, which I wouldn't recommend. That would probably scratch up the glass. And you've got some totes here in the corner, some files. Hopefully we get to take a closer look at some of the things around that desk. All right, so here is the front of the desk. Looks like he's got some printer paper there. He's got a printer, some filing cabinets in the back. It's interesting that he has an office in pretty much every building. He's got his radio here. And let's move forward. I don't see anything else of interest thus far. All right, so this is the side view. Nothing too crazy here. We're going to move along. I know there's a bunch of binders in the back. I think they need to start going through those. All right, here's the side view here. Looks like a little view of the beach there. Got a tissue box. We don't know if that one was mic'd up. You got a little organizer here. Moving right along. All right, here's another side view of this desk here. Let's zoom in, see if we could see anything of interest. Looks pretty clean. So I don't know if this was the office he used often. Everything looks pretty tidy there. We are 20% through today's episode, or this episode. All right, so you got this really nice view of the water here. Looks like he had some trail mix. I don't know if this is a little lockbox or whatnot. He's got looks like a air filter or fan on top of this couch. There's that refrigerator. So nothing too crazy. We should get a closer look at the things on his desk, but they're honing in on the computer there. All right, here's another side view. You got a calculator and some random stuff. Normal office equipment. So we're not going to spend too much time on that. All right, here's another side view. I don't know why we didn't get a close look at this desk. I would really like to see what's on this calendar here. It looks like that might be a picture in the corner there. Not too sure because it's a little far away, or maybe some sort of ornament. I'd like to see what that is as well. This is that little lockbox we were talking about that we saw the door open. Hopefully we get a closer look in there. All right, so now we're getting the angle from the couch. You can see that fan on top of it. What's this in the corner here? See if we could take a closer look. I don't know if that's one of those glass sailboats or something like that, perhaps. Or maybe this just looks like a folder drop where you could just put some papers in there. I'd like to take a look at that as well. See if the photographer does a good job of covering everything in this room. All right, so we're getting a lot of wide shots. There's this giant thing here, so it doesn't look like a rock. Maybe it's some sort of it's definitely a paperweight. Maybe I can't tell what that is, but maybe that's some sort of vase or something like that. Stone vase. We are 25% through today's episode. All right, so this is the front of the computer. Nothing too crazy here. You've got some pens and stuff. What we need to be looking at is what's in here, what's in here, what's in here, what's in here. These are the things that we need to see. All right, so we finally get a view of the papers on the desk. Let's see what we've got here. Work to complete: the cabana, the library, fuel storage ventilation system, barge deck fenders, Little St. James gym floor plywood. So we saw that floor wasn't done. This was July 7th, 2019. I believe the warrant was exercised in August. Correct me if I'm wrong. Uh, Giant St. James staff cottage, Q hut door. I'm assuming that's giant since it's little, or greater St. James perhaps. All right, Five Palms panels, gym panels, Blue Beach, GSJ transfer switch, shade structure, engineering doors. So there was a lot of renovation going on. We've got the side of this calendar here. Can't really make out what that says. Let me see if I can turn it sideways so I can read that a little better. So I'm interested in that. It's got a little coffee cake there. We've got a card here. What does that say? The green. We'll look at that in a second. I want to hone in on what this says. One thing at a time. I'm getting ahead of myself. All right, so this says Easter Monday, holiday something. It looks like it's scratched out. All right, now let's take a look at, let me flip this back over. Right, the business card here. Jeffrey Bateman, the green piece. Like I always say, everything could be a piece of evidence. I don't know who Jeffrey Bateman is, the green piece. Somebody might want to Google that and let me know. See, it's got a redaction there. It's funny because it was zoomed out. They must have known we were going to zoom in on that, but the phone number has been taken off. You got some pins and whatnot here. Can't really make out what is on these side papers here, but there's something circled there and circled there, but you can't really make it out sidewards. David something. All right, moving right along. All right, so we got a better look at this calendar, which was what we wanted. Poly Tribe, perhaps. Looks like a water company of some sorts. Let's see if there's anything of interest on this calendar. So he's got what appears to be some coordinates here. Let me see. A couple names. Paul Stewart circled. We don't know the importance of Paul Stewart. Jules Heavy Equipment. Mike Stock. Let's take a look over here. Holiday closure, Good Friday. Something. All right, so I'm not seeing anything too crazy. All of this, there's Mike Stock, same guy there. There's a business card there. So apparently he was doing some business with someone named Mike Stock. Let's see if we can get a closer look at these diagonal writings here. Let's see. Zoom in a little bit. Holiday closure, Good Friday, and I can't really make this out, but it says Children's Carnival Ride, perhaps? Can't really make that out. There's a little house over here. Trying to look at everything. Everything is a potential clue. I don't know what that says. It's too light. The writing's too light. So let's see if we could zoom in on this. Cherry picker to Greater St. James. This is all crossed out, and this is fully redacted here. All right, we're going to move forward. All right, so we've got some receipts. The American Yacht Harbor. This is all covered up. Rent, so it looks like some sort of fees here. We got a closer look at the right side of that paper we were trying to read, as well as this pamphlet. Cherry picker, Greater St. James for Liston. All this is crossed out, but it's got Florida on here. Looks like maybe a Florida address. We've got a email address that looks like it's naturally redacted based on this little sticky pad here that's covering that. He's got a ruler. He was obviously doing some sort of measurements. And And I don't think there's anything else to see here. We're going to move forward. We will analyze everything in every last one of these files. All right, Monique Rodriguez Polion. Let's see what her business is. Patient care coordinator. Yacht Raven Family Practice. Let me turn this a little bit so we can get a closer look. That didn't help much. Red Hook Family Practice. Patient care coordinator. Okay, we got some keys here. Let's zoom out. See if there's anything of interest in this photo. Okay, I think that's everything. We are 30% through today's episode, or through this episode. All right. All right, so we got the back serial numbers of the computer. Like I said, they were seizing all electrical equipment. So hopefully later in the files, like I had to explain to somebody in the comment section, they wanted to see what was on these drives. Keep in mind that they're just seizing the stuff. So they have to go through every property. Once they have all of the evidence seized and labeled, that's when they're going to start going through it. So we might not start seeing the contents of these electrical devices till later in the files. Remember, we got 3 million of them to get through. So let's not rush here. Let's take our time. I'm sure everything will become evident as we continue on. So there is this service code for this computer. Moving right along. All right, so here are, it's a Dell computer. Some more information in regards to that actual device. All right, here's a duplicate of that same photo of the Dell computer. All right, Little St. James LLC, so this must be one of his companies. This was the address we saw earlier, Red Hook, when it came to that family practitioner. So it must be somebody that's on the island, January 27th, 2019. And the employee's name is at Asheville, Edagun. The address is redacted. They left their name, but they didn't put their date of birth in their address. Marital status single. So we'd have to see what the relevance of that is. The St. James Group. We are 35% through today's episode. All right, so here's the emergency contacts. Charles Dick is the employee name. Single, relationship friend, relationship mother. So I'm trying to figure out what the relevance is. What's Jeffrey Epstein's relation to these people? Dale Mark declined to complete. Okay, so he didn't fill this out. So this is obviously some sort of form that the Little St. James, what was it, group or LLC was having people fill out. For what reason, we don't know. Let's take a closer look at this. David Alves, same thing, and Sheila Alves' spouse. So we know that Jeffrey was doing a lot of genetic work. That's what's been coming out. A lot of genetic studies, lots of emails with scientists and such that I'm sure we'll be getting into. But this is a married couple that filled out a form. Mr. Alves and Mrs. Alves. Doctor's name, Mary. Now this is pertinent. Mary Mavion. So why would he have these forms? Why would he need emergency contacts? Why would he have an ambulance on his property? Why would he need to know their blood type and allergies? This is something you would fill out at a doctor's office. And this is Little St. James. This isn't Epstein group or anything like that. So I'm trying to figure out what the relevance is. All those people in the comments section, my fellow sleuths, if you want to look up LSJE LLC and see what it is that they actually did. I'm going to look it up myself after the episode, so maybe I can add some context to it in the next episode and why these people would be filling out these forms. That's the homework assignment for my fellow sleuths in the comment section. All right, so here's another one. Maurice Bedminster. Start date March 25th of 2019. Doctor's name Rosal. Friend, brother. Whose brother is this? Moving right along, marital status single. So we've got all these forms of these random people. Nicole Victoria didn't fill out any of the form, declined to complete. So we are 40% through today's episode. Why is it people are filling out these forms? Why is it some people are declining to fill out the form, declined to complete? Peter Eli. It's very strange. If he were doing some sort of financial consulting, which I believe was what he claimed was his job, I don't think he would need the medical records of the individuals he was working for. Pierre Auguste, Mason, and I can't even make out what that is. So maybe these were people who were working on the property. Name Beverly, brother. I'm assuming that's supposed to say sister or sitter, but they misspelled it. Moving right along. All right, so we got Sheridan Eliz. Can't really make that out. Relationship wife. Whose wife? All the information is redacted as far as cell phones, date of birth, and phone number. So this is strange. Another strange document found on the Epstein Island. Bonifest Ludat. This one looks like it was typed. This is back in March of 22nd of 2018. Information is redacted. Brian Bates, contractor. So perhaps these were people that were hired by him. Jamie Reed. But why would he need girlfriend? Why would he need this information? So you've got Brian Bates, employee name, and Jamie Reed is the doctor. So all of these forms have different doctors. What relevance does this information have to whatever it was he was doing? Carlos L. Rodriguez, doctor's name, Dr. Livingston, married, driver's license, title, position, captain. I don't know if these were people that he was hiring. It just doesn't make sense. If anybody can make sense of this in the comment section, please go right ahead. Cristobal Hidalgo Herrera. This is back in June 8th, 2018. Brother Viligio Herrera. Phone number redacted. So I'm assuming those binders that we were looking at, this is what was in those binders that were behind the desk. Cuthbert Titry, doctor's name Maria Jewell, sister and brother's information redacted. Dulcie Guzneem, information redacted, married. Danny Etienne, doctor's name was Douglas. Maria Etienne, girlfriend. It says girlfriend, Maria Etienne. They have the same last name. No, that's the employee name. Employee name is Danny Etienne. Okay, yeah. So it's his girlfriend, but they have the same last name. It could be a coincidence, perhaps. We are 50% through today's episode. Normally, your girlfriend doesn't have the same last name as you, your wife does. Donald Pullon, information redacted. Someone said in the comments section, where are the testimonies of the staff? As we know, all of these properties had dozens of staffers, maybe even hundreds, and I'm sure those individuals can attest to what was going on the island and in the New York manor, but none of those people have been called forward, or none of those people have spoken out about what happened in these properties, maybe out of fear. But here is Dulcin Donassaint. I don't know if that's something French. All the information is redacted. But yeah, so nothing was said on their part, and of course we never got to see Jeffrey testify because allegedly he unalived himself, and the cameras were out, and the security staff that was supposed to be watching him was not watching him. Felito Joseph, Jennifer Faye's sister, girlfriend. Okay. So that information just conveniently disappeared. Gail Leatham, information redacted. Girlfriend, sisters, contact list, redacted. Gary Titry, maintenance. Valerie is his wife. Garcia is his daughter. All redacted information as far as contact. Hillian Bedminster. Now we saw this name earlier. They put part of the address. The rest is redacted. But her emergency contacts are her mom and her aunt. James Caesar. So I'm assuming that the only way this makes sense is these had to be employees. Most employers, I mean, if you're doing construction work, I guess it would make sense if something were to happen to you, they would need to know who to contact. Wistner Pern, Alfred Pern, James Caesar. So that's what I'm assuming this is. It said, if you go back to this one, he was a carpenter. So this looks like the the contact information of the various people that he hired, Justin De La Cruz, because this is the housekeeper. But for the person that put that in the comment section, these would be the people they would need to contact to see if anything weird was going on. And obviously, they wouldn't have to go far to find them or contact them because literally their phone numbers and addresses are in these binders. So Feliz de la Cruz, Bimbedina, Gadino's husband, brother. So there are plenty of people to talk to in regards to if they saw anything weird on the island. Kashawn Williams, engineer. So you've got all these people. We are 60% through today's episode that were on this property. You have information to contact them. Lita Hernandez. I'm just going to Dr. Corbin. You have all these people that are potential witnesses. And I haven't seen a single interview with any of these people. Michael J. Glidden. In fact, the only people I've seen speak out, engineer, divorced, are the victims. He's got his son and brother as a contact. All right. O'Neill, Pirasant. We saw this name earlier. Rosal Joselito. So it looks like a lot of these were filled out and then they were typed up later. I don't know if he had a receptionist, but these look like duplicates of some of those filled out forms earlier, Oreo Joseph, but we don't need to elaborate too much on these because we get the gist of it unless we see one that Patrick Sena, captain, that stands out in a peculiar way. But I'm under the assumption Peter St. Omer, well, we don't assume, operator, based on the evidence that these were people that worked on the island. And hopefully, you see Pierre Jules. We get past these employee forms, but like I said, they're all files. Randy Amparo, boat captain. So these are the various people that had roles on the island. You got engineers, carpenters, captains. You got housekeepers. Now that's interesting. Everything on here is redacted. This person's her whole name. So why is it all of these other forms? The names were there. They didn't have much. They had their title. They didn't obviously put their phone numbers and whatnot, but they've redacted the pastor. They've redacted the person's name, their phone numbers, obviously. So why can't we see the name of this individual? We saw the names of everyone else. Why don't we see the names of these individuals or that individual? It's very strange. See, right back to showing the names. Stephanie Remington, as Island Health and Wellness Assistant to Manager. And we are 70% through today's episode. So, Sylvester Gallard, supervisor, diabetic medications. So, was there something that was potentially linked with the individual whose name they redacted, seeing as they didn't redact everybody else's name? Is that someone of importance? So here is a wide view of the desk. We got a good look zoomed in on pretty much all of these documents that were on the desk here, including the business cards. So I think we did a pretty good job of analyzing the desk so far, unless there's something else. Oh, we didn't see all of this stuff. So this must be stuff they just opened up. There's the binders. Those are probably the binders that were behind the chair. Let's see if we can get a closer look at these and see if it's of any importance. You can see even zoomed out, if we go back to that last file, even zoomed out, they still have the redactions. I'm assuming that's just in case we were to zoom in, but I'm sure it would get blurry. And I'm hoping that they're going to take close-up pictures of these documents. I'm going to type on, click on file 3073 just to make sure we covered it. Here's the Y view. Okay, so we saw what was over here, because I remember seeing that, and this stuff was covered up. So now we're over here. And like I said, there were a bunch of binders on the back there. So perhaps they're opening them near that particular desk. Oh, they're moving on to the utility bunker. Why didn't we get to see those? Excuse me, I gotta take a sip of my coffee. Why didn't we get to see those papers on the desk? Or was that the first set of papers we saw? It might be the first set of papers we saw. We did have some papers on there. So my memory escapes me with that. I get so delved in when it comes to looking at each file. But anyway, so here's the flagpole. We saw this file from a distance in a previous episode leading up this road, and you've got this compound door here. I'm sure we're going to take a closer look at that. We're 75% through today's episode. All right, so here is this little compound we were talking about that's under this hill here. Let's see what the contents are. Okay, this is interesting. So you got a pipe running through here and some pieces of plywood. There's all of these random spaces where if you were like housing people or bringing people in illegally. Okay, so we saw another box like this, which was a little like electric box house, or what do you call it, a power room. But these would easily double for like storage as far as human smuggling. But like I said, we're not assuming, but there are a lot of these little buildings. Could be a coincidence, maybe not. All right, so we've got some pipes running through here. Actually, they're not running through there. They're just sitting on top of this cement block here. So this might just be a storage room. We are 80% through today's episode. All right, the pergola and storage area. We really didn't do a good job with that G there. So we're headed to the pergola and the storage area. All right, so here is your pergola. I'm assuming this must be the storage area. You got a little slope here. I'm assuming this was for boats because it's sloped. It's not a staircase, so you would basically be at a boat. You could back your truck up, drive down here, and put it on the dock. See if we get a better picture of that shortly. All right, so here is the storage area. As you can see, there's some black bags in there, or it looks like black tarps. Moving right along. All right, here's a electric box that's kind of chewed up a little bit, and you got this electrical wire holder tube there, an outlet, some cables, and these bags. All right, we got a really dark photo of the storage area. We are 85% through today's episode. I gotta stop saying today's episode because we do multiple episodes sometimes. All right, we're headed to the grotto. Like I said, we got 3 million files to go through, and we're going to do it spoon by spoon, but obviously we need to be releasing these files and reviewing these files early and often. So I know you guys are feverishly investigating this just like me, so I'm going to do my best to get you guys as much analytical content as often as possible. And since we got 3 million files, it'll probably be till the end of time. So you got this little Stonehenge house here. Doesn't have a roof, it appears. And there's a slit in the wall. I don't know if they were still building it or it was torn down a little bit. You got a staircase here that leads to another grotto. Moving right along. All right, so here's the inside. Now, I don't know, it seems like this is unfinished, or maybe they were tearing it down. But there's not much going on here. It's just kind of the walls. of what could be a structure. But we know he was doing a lot of renovations, so maybe these are things that were being built. You can kind of see, I think this is rebar just hanging out there. Moving right along. All right, so here we have the staircase leading up to that upper grotto. And you can see the water on the side, a couple drops here with the rocks. We are 90% through today's episode. All right, so now you have these weird sculptures in front. So this one, it looks like a man with a small child on a stick. That's a little odd. And over here, you've got a woman standing in the pretty much in the middle of the stairs. She's blocking half the stairs there. So let me see if I can get a screenshot of that while we're at it. Why not? All right, capture that. Moving right along. Let's go to the next file. All right, so you got a little picnic table here. You can see this woman's head zoomed in the picture. You got electricity in here because there's a little light switch there on the wall. We're going to continue forward. The sundial. Now, why you would have a sundial, I don't know. I believe is it Greek? Is it someone who's a historian? Let me know where the sundial came from. So you got this giant sundial, and this is along the lines of his temple and the artwork. There's all of these ancient, like, how do I even describe it? It's not normal, okay? Most people don't have a sundial with color-oriented chairs around it, but Jeffrey does, apparently. Moving forward, so here you have this giant, what appears to be like a sun god, and you've got this, I'm assuming this is the hand of time here. It reminds me of somebody pointed out earlier. I forget what episode it was, but there was a guy sitting, contemplate. It looked like he was contemplating life with his head in his hands, and they said it was a sculpture piece that pertains to time. I'm sure I could probably go back and find it in the comment section, but here is another reference to time. You can see these Roman numerals here. So those are the dials of the actual clock here. So this would be the 12 at the top. I'm assuming this would be, doesn't look like a 9, but you can see the numbers on this clock. We are 95% through today's episode. All right, so now we have description of photographic subject miscellaneous comments. So this must be, okay, it looks how they labeled the rooms. I would have liked to have seen more pictures of that sundial. Maybe they go back to it, but let's just take a look at this. Cover sheet, pool house, exterior pool house, entry room, pool house. So these must be the labels. Server racks, kitchenette, main room, main room, contents of trash bags. So this is how they label. Okay, these are the photo numbers. Serial numbers of computers, bathrooms, closet clothes, bathroom, closet pictures. Exit photo, bathroom, exit photo, main room, kitchenette, entry room, entry photo, utility closet, exit photo, utility closet. Got a cover sheet of the gazebo, overall gazebo, interior gazebo. So he's very methodical as far as how he takes his pictures for his investigation, which we obviously appreciate. Got the utility closet gazebo, path to the beach gazebo, cover sheet, pipe junction shed, path to pipe junction shed, cover sheet, exterior temple, the entry to the temple, interior exit to the temple, cover sheet construction yard, entry construction yard, vehicles construction yard, cover sheet gym, and entry gym. And as you can see, he's holding the paper still, so maybe he took this outside and it was windy. And if they don't go back to that sundial, I'll probably go back to that file myself just to see if we can make more sense of it. So here is the last page. I'm assuming they might be done with, are they done with Little St. James? We'll see in a sec, I guess. Cover sheet, beach house, path to beach house, exterior beach house, entry, interior to beach house, desk, beach house, Apple desktop with serial numbers, the Dell desktop that we saw, emergency contact information, we saw that. Exit photos to the beach house, cover sheet, utility bunker, cover sheet to the pergola, pergola and storage area, cover sheet, grotto, cover sheet, sundial, and photo log. So this would be the photo log, and the sundial was the last file that we saw. I'm curious to see where we're going from now. All right, so we are still in Little St. James. I'm assuming we're going to another part. This was August 12th of 2019. Every time we see that photograph, we know that we're heading to another area. So, or maybe not, main area, the office. So that might be where we're headed. Or maybe he's just taking a picture of all of his photo cover sheets. All right, so it looks like we're headed to a garage. It's closed off here. This may be one that we saw earlier. There's that ATV, and you've got what appears to be an air conditioner. So this is the main house, obviously, as it was pointed out on that card. And the last file of the day, file 3100. Let's see where that takes us. So this is the side of this compound. So we haven't been in here. Emergency listings. It's gated off. Hopefully this doesn't lead back to more maintenance equipment, but I'd like to say we had some really good files today. Let me see if I can remember what file that was for the sundial. Oh, we clicked on a file that we're not even on. That's going to be a file in the next one. All right. I meant to put 3094. See, you got a little sneak peek into the next episode. So yeah, I got the file right. So here's that sundial. More weirdness from Jeffrey Epstein, and I'm going to leave you with this weird sundial here. If you think this was business as usual at the Little St. James property, just take a look at the last episode that dropped Sunday, where we had the temple that looked like it was being renovated in a very rapid pace, or maybe they were just getting rid of stuff. And of course, you got this giant sundial here. Looks pretty normal, right? Well, I've had you guys for 43 minutes, which is a little longer than usual. As always, I appreciate every last one of you guys for going on this investigation venture with me. And anything you saw that I didn't see, as always, put it in the comments section. I do a pretty good job of getting back to you guys and engaging in conversation as far as all of these things that you guys are interested in. And it really helps when you guys see things that I didn't see, so I can go back and review it again. And of course, everybody else that's on this journey with us, they can go back and review it as well, so we're all on the same page. Continue to subscribe because we got to get the word out on this. You guys are doing a great job on that. But like I said, with so many files coming out, and you not being notified by not being subscribed isn't going to help you. So hit the notification and subscription, because it's going to take you 2 seconds, and it's going to save you a lot of hassle when it comes to trying to track down files and episodes in the future. And as always, continue to repost on your Twitter, your Facebook, your Instagram, your TikToks. I can't say that enough. I say it every episode because people are dying to know this information, because they don't know that someone's actually reviewing these files. So we want to open up as many eyes as humanly possible, and we can't let this die out based on news or whatever rhetoric is being pushed to get us away from these files. We're going to stay on these files. But enough of that. I will see you guys in the next episode. You guys take care.